Hey, welcome back to the GynoCast. My name is Dr. Eric Heegaard, and I'm here with Twila.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you really good, or are you just saying that?
No, it's Friday. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Are we still in hiatus?
Yes, we are. We're still in hiatus.
So you shouldn't hate us. For being in hiatus.
That never gets old. Yes, it does.
It really doesn't.
Yes, it does.
So we are just doing little tidbits of things to think about that we may or may not follow up in more depth.
Don't say may or may not. We're going to follow these topics up. They won't be in the immediate, but we will be following up the topics that we've brought up here because everything we've talked about has some sort of shelf life that I think should be explored more.
Yeah.
With the exception of the sex robots. Maybe I won't talk about that again.
See, that's what I mean.
Okay. 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 I'll give you that.
So we're dipping our little toes in the water of the universe of wonder. Right. To see, talking about topics that we'll probably dive into in more depth in the future. But we don't want you to think that we have forgotten about you, because we certainly don't want you to forget about us. So today, I thought we would talk about our buttocks.
Okay.
And getting injections in our buttocks.
Yeah, I feel really strongly about that.
In favor?
No, opposed. I just don't.
Well, I got to tell you, I don't like getting shots. I don't.
Oh, I don't care about getting shots.
Don't you really?
Mm-mm. They don't faze me.
Well,
and mind you, I have very, very small veins, so getting shots for me of any sort is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like drawing blood is extremely difficult. I've always been this way.
But you don't care?
No, because you just have to. You got two choices.
You're like Honey Badger or whatever.
No, Honey Badger don't care.
That's right. You could stick that thing into Twila's arm 25 times. She doesn't care.
Well, they usually have to draw blood out of the back of my hand. That's how bad my veins are. So, so I'm like, yes, if you're going to have to go through all that anyway, you got two choices. You can either just fall apart every time you have to do it, or you can just go, you know what? Handle it. So that's what I do. Handle it.
Well, I hate, I'll just be honest with you. I'm going to be frank. May I be frank with you?
Indeed.
I don't like getting shots. I don't like getting IVs. I do not like pain. And so therefore I do not like to cause other people pain. But it's a lot easier to be on the other side of an injection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
when I'm the one injecting,
it's
a lot.
Yeah.
I can say, I'm sorry, this is going to hurt a little bit or whatever, but it's going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt me.
Fair point.
And but I certainly wouldn't go somewhere to get injections into my buttocks. Buttocki. Is that the?
You're the
plural?
doctor.
Well, I've never used it in a conversation before.
I'm just gonna guess it's all the same. It's like fish.
Or deer.
Yeah.
Or buffalo.
I'm guessing. No,
Buttock,
it's just buffalo.
Buttocki.
No, it's just
Buttai.
It's just buffalo.
It is not. It's buffalo.
No, it isn't.
I'm sorry. I am in a mood today. I don't know what's wrong with me. So anyway, let me just tell you a little story. In our search for the perfect bodies, which everybody, and which I think is becoming more and more and more problematic, because we are constantly on social media, looking at other people, their lives, their bodies. They're showing off their bodies. I was looking on Facebook today, and just on my Facebook feed, there's a woman who had some sort of gastric bypass surgery, which I am all in favor of in the right circumstances. She'd lost a huge amount of weight, but she was on Facebook with her new slimmed down body in a little bikini thing, kind of gyrating around. And I don't think that is appropriate Facebook feed stuff. I think if you want to,
that's going to wind up falling into to each his own category. Would I do it? No. Do I really like? Do I need to see it? No, girl, I don't.
Okay,
but
we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, we can absolutely agree.
But my point is, I guess what I'm trying to circle around to again is that we are constantly being bombarded by images.
True.
And some of us are more vulnerable than others.
True.
And so I know somebody who just went to Florida to get a Brazilian butt lift. And for those people who don't know what a Brazilian butt lift is, what is it, Twila?
It's a procedure.
It is a procedure, exactly. I had to look it up to get the details, because
is that the one where they actually inject the stuff directly into your butt, as opposed to putting in the actual like silicone?
Yes, you're right. And so this is the thing. So it's not an implant.
Right.
And I kind of thought, I didn't know what I thought it was. I guess I thought
think
it would
we
be
all thought that butt injections were I think we all thought that butt lifts and when people were getting butt procedures that they were getting the same as what you get put into your breast, just some sort of silicone.
Yes.
Or what's the other kind of silicone or
saline
or
silicone.
saline, yeah, but it was being implanted in your body permanently.
Yes, that's what I thought it was too.
Yeah, but these are this is much different. They're literally taking a grated chemical of some sort and injecting it into your body.
Well, there's fillers and that sort of thing. My understanding of the Brazilian butt lift, which is that they basically do liposuction and they suck out fat from areas where you don't want it,
and
like
then put
your
it
belly,
in there.
and then they put it into your buttock.
How does that work?
Buttock.
I mean, but how does that even how does that work? I mean, isn't it just gonna fall?
Well, that's what I don't understand. But apparently,
but you know what? Then again, that makes sense because when you see the people that have that procedure done, when you see the shape that they have, which is essentially now a cartoon shape, where they'll have a 25-inch waist.
It's like a caricature.
Yeah, and they'll have a 46-inch hip span. Yeah. But it's not even that it sits that they're not even carrying the weight in their actual butt. It's like they're carrying it in their hips.
Yeah, it's a strange. I think it's odd, but the thing that so you're asking exactly the right question, which is how does it work and what does it do? And so they take the fat and they put it they inject it in the butt to make it larger or fill in gaps and that sort of thing. My question is always, well, can you take tissue from one part of the body that doesn't have a blood supply anymore and just stuff it in and pack it in? And apparently it does revascularize and get some blood supply. But in any case, afterwards you have to wear tight, kind of compression stockings and stuff to kind of hold it in place for a while and do massage and that sort of thing. I don't, but the bottom line, let me read you a story.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear it? Because
please do.
Cardi B.
Wow.
Cardi B. That's not Carly B?
It's Cardi.
I think I said
like
Cardi.
Bacardi. No, you said Carly. It's Cardi like Bacardi.
I don't think I said that. I think you heard it wrong.
I love you.
I am not. I do the best I can.
Listen, that is okay. We all suffer from trying to be hip with the kiddos, and then it comes back to gifts.
Okay, so here's Cardi B.
Yes, and do you know who Cardi B is?
Of course I do. Isn't that the song? Don't get comfortable or whatever. Isn't that her song?
Actually, yeah, you're
what
close.
is? I don't know what the title.
You're close.
It's a great song. I got to admit, I just thought, wow, that's a good song.
Yeah, no,
but what is the song called?
Now I'm gonna have a senior moment and not remember the name.
Well,
of the
I can,
song.
but even if I could remember the song, it's not like I can,
Yeah.
a middle-aged white guy.
I mean, we got no business singing it anyway.
Cardi
It costs
B.
me money.
It's like, but it's it's a risque song to say the least. But anyway,
great song.
But aren't you impressed? I actually know.
I am very impressed with you.
Don't get comfortable. Something like that. So, in any case, this is what she says. When I was 21, not me. I'm talking.
Yeah,
about
you're saying Cardi.
Cardi B is saying, I wouldn't have fat for my buttocks.
Okay.
Buttocks. She went to a basement in Queens, and a woman injected her butt with filler for $800.
Yep.
She said, "They don't numb your ass."
Yeah. Well, this is already
this
is already getting explicit tag. Don't worry about it.
This is it was the craziest pain ever. I felt like I was going to pass out. I felt a little dizzy, and it leaks for a while, for like 5 days. Still, she said she liked the results. She went back for a touch-up, But the point, so.
But she literally could have died.
She could have died, and people do.
Yeah, she literally went into somebody's basement who isn't a trained technician of any sort, who somehow bought some filler off the back of a truck.
Yeah, from Alibaba. It's probably, maybe
somewhere like insane. Like she ordered off the internet and it just showed up at their house, and then charged people $800 a pop to inject them. Does she have any formal training in how to inject? Does she have any formal training about wound care or about sanitary conditions? None of this existed. So Cardi's really, really lucky that she didn't wind up with some sort of severe infection. She could have wound up dead. I mean, we're just.
That's right.
And the scary part is when somebody famous like Cardi says, "I did that." Yeah. I did that. I liked the result. I went back. I regret having done it that way now. It doesn't, the kids following her don't listen to the I regret that part. Because here's what they see. They see Cardi, who was like them, who is now a multimillionaire and a Grammy nominee and a successful human, and think shortcut and then to follow Cardi's route. Cardi did this. Cardi got butt injections. I'm going to go get butt injections. They don't think about consequences.
Well, this has been and so let me just give you a little bit of data. There are estimates. You ready for this? That 1 in 3,000 women die from this procedure.
That doesn't surprise me at all. It terrifies me, but it doesn't surprise me.
And and all you have to do is go on Google and put in bad cosmetic results and that sort of thing, and you can see pictures of people who've gone trying to kind of shortcut these procedures with people who don't do very many of them, or who are not well trained, or with material or implants that are not high quality, and it can be god awful, ghastly side effects.
Well,
and so the point I want to get to is that you really got to do your due diligence. Get a board certified plastic surgeon.
Can we clarify something?
Yes.
Can you legally get, like, is there an FDA approved butt injection procedure?
Frankly, I don't know, and I suspect that perhaps not. But but you have to be careful with that, because a lot of the things that we do in medicine are not necessarily FDA approved. We use, like, and just for example, there's only one medication, we call them tocolytics, that are approved for stopping preterm labor, and yet we have 5 or 6 different ones that we use that are not FDA approved for that specific indication, but they've been widely studied.
They work and they've been studied.
Right, and so one of the dangers is that you can apply different technologies and different medications to different situations.
Right,
and so you got to be. And so I'm not sure about that, but I'm not really trying to pass so much judgment on people who decide to do this, because I always feel like there's a thing called patient autonomy, which is it's our body. If you want to, I don't have any tattoos that you can see.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I have 2.
Twila.
You know I do. Stop that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. But you're right.
I'll show you mine.
You can see mine. Remember, mine is visible. It's on my leg. No, but I understand. I fully agree with you. The idea is ultimately people have
the right to do with their body what they want to do. But you got to do your due diligence. And when you are messing with things that are being injected into your body by people who may or may not have training, you really got to be careful.
Well,
people they get horrible deformities from these infections, side effects, and occasionally die.
I saw a really interesting thing, and it's going to circle back around to something I know you dislike greatly. So
the Kardashians?
No, but they actually very much play into this.
They absolutely do, which is my complaint.
Yeah, but we'll get back.
And you can't see me if you're listening, but I'm pointing at Twila.
Yeah.
I'm actually
we'll get back to that, because I think that's a fair point. But your other unfavorite, Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz.
Actually recently featured an R&B singer named K. Michelle. And K. Michelle is very well known in the black community and sort of the black celebrity community for having this extremely large back end.
Caboose.
She absolutely was the definition of like that cartoonish shape where she had like a 25-inch waist and like a 50-inch like wingspan around her hips. But she came forward and she went on his show a couple of times to point out that she had had these procedures done and had decided this wasn't the best for her, and she was starting to have health problems and health issues around it, and attempted to remove it, and essentially found that it was virtually impossible to remove, to undo the damage that she had already done.
Yeah.
So they had taken these x-rays of like her butt and her hips to show what the particulate looked like, because the substance,
were they fillers or something like that?
Yeah, she was shot up with like some sort of like weird fillers and some sort of silicone filler or something. And the doctor did go in and try to do like the procedure to remove it. But what happened when they injected it is it didn't inject and stay together as one form. It spread out as little tiny pieces all over. So when you took the x-ray, it looked literally like...
It probably looked like sawdust or BBs.
It looked like BBs. Like they were so tiny, and it was just pieces everywhere. It would have been impossible for the doctor to, in a surgical procedure, to go get them all out. Yeah. They were essentially just intermixed with all the fat and all the muscle. You couldn't separate them. Yeah. So they did like 2. She had like 2 separate like sort of lipo type procedures to basically just pull as much fat, and hopefully when they pulled the fat, they were getting it.
They got the particulates.
Yeah, but then they went and did another X-ray, and they just showed like it. I mean, it took some of it out, but that's permanent. She's just going to have that inside of her. And she literally came on her show to say, listen, don't do this. Yeah. I did this. It was a mistake. I bowed to the pressure of it. I would never ask for anybody to go through what I went through. And she was having real health problems associated with it. She was starting to have vision problems and migraine issues and, abdominal issues, like all of these weird things that were connected to having all of this stuff sitting in her body in a way that she couldn't control. Yeah. And she went, in Atlanta to like the quote unquote top people you go to. She went through the most legitimate, channel that she could find in Georgia to do this. Yeah. And still she wound up with this result. And she was really trying to ring the bell, like, pretty please don't do this. I just found it to be heartbreaking that even with that level of autonomy that there's somebody with enough, intelligence and money and access to even to do their due diligence. And here's the thing. She did due diligence. She did a lot of due diligence, but still wound up with a procedure that did a lot of damage to her body because ultimately she, even with due diligence, she sort of bowed to a pressure to be something that she didn't need to be.
Well, this is one of my kind of pet peeves about this whole industry is that, people who are providers, and there's consumers and providers, or patients and providers, right? And we all know, because we're both, and we're all at some point going to be consumers of healthcare, and we're also, I shouldn't say, but many of us, I am a provider, and we know that people are vulnerable. Yeah, we are all vulnerable, and most people are to how we look and et cetera, et cetera. And so there's an aspect of a predatory aspect to some of this stuff. And maybe, I don't mean, there is a huge predatory aspect to it. Yeah. And this is my complaint against Dr. Oz and the Kardashians and that ilk, which is, and I'm not trying to go after Kris Jenner. She's an incredible, brilliant businesswoman, right? Or business person. She's a billionaire and her kids are billionaires. But when you get to that level of prominence, I feel like there is a certain responsibility to the people that follow you and find your decisions and what you say impactful, and and they follow you. And it's one thing to have adults that are 30 who've had life experience kind of listening to what you're doing, but so many of these, the people who follow the Kardashians, they bug me, are young girls. Yeah. And so when the Kardashians get their butts blown up or their breast augmentations or their this or that and this or that, there are people that use them as the ideal of what a woman should look like.
Right. Well, and I think part of the issue that I have,
that's predatory.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the issue I have with that is that they're not transparent with what they do and what they don't do. So they will feign that this was all exercise that did this. This is all training in the gym that did this. When we know this isn't all training in the gym.
I don't even know that aspect of the story, and that makes it even worse.
Yeah,
and
like
they should be ashamed
the idea that you're, I'm supposed to believe on some level, that Kim Kardashian, even with all of her millions of resources, somehow after giving birth to 2 children, whittled her waist down to a 25-inch waist and has breasts that freestand from gravity, and now when you never in your entire life had the hip span or the butt that looked like that, now over the course of a year and a half gain that much not even muscle mass but just like weight mass there, we know that's not what's happening. Exactly. And knowing that that's not what's happening, at least I at least are more comfortable with it if you're at least willing to say, I did this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just be open with it.
If you're
do it.
Yeah, if you're willing to just be willing. I'm not saying you need to tell everybody everything that's your business. You can decide things.
But if you're selling that,
well, here's the thing.
That's what they're selling.
And that's the thing. If you're selling it, that's a whole different thing. And they've gotten knocked a few times for doing things like pushing like appetite suppressant lollipops and just kind of pretending like I'm just using this because I like it, as opposed to you're getting paid a lot of money to do it. Which, I mean, they were probably one of them as a whole were one of the catalysts for some of the changes that happened, some FCC changes that happened that make you disclose when things are an ad on things like social media and like Instagram, where you have to say it's an ad, you have to say you're being paid, you have to say it's a sponsored product, where you didn't have to do that before. And it's very important to note that you're right. We have this super vulnerable population of people who are living and working and using and absorbing social media in ways we never imagined it would be used for. And given that that's how they're doing it, we all have a collective responsibility to hold people to task. We have a collective responsibility to hold ourselves to task, to have real conversations all the time about what we're seeing, and understanding that all of these things are highly curated. Instagram is not a place where real images exist. Instagram is a place where highly curated, highly manufactured images exist.
So that leads me to this very poignant point, a pointedly poignant point, which is, if you're going to have someone inject something in your butt, make sure they know what they're doing.
Okay, well, listen, no.
How do you like that? I wrapped it up. We brought it back.
That's the most important thing you could say in all of this is understanding that if you're going to do any sort of body modification, any sort, that you don't just do your due diligence of, I look them up on Google. Yeah. You need to talk to them. You need to, hey, listen, young kids or people that are listening that have young kids or teens or young women or young men in their lives, make sure if you can share this with them, or you can tell them this and as a specific quote. We'll even try to put it on a little checklist and get it out to you somehow. You need to do a few things. Do your research. Make calls and actually make appointments to speak to people. If you show up for somebody that's going to do a butt injection, and you walk into their facility, and I'm using finger quotes on that, and it turns out to be like a office setting in a strip mall with like sheer panels put up instead of actual walls for discretion, and you don't see like a sink or sanitary equipment. Well, no, I mean, seriously, like if you have nowhere to like wash things or wash even your hands before you start touching me, that's a problem. I don't even go get my nails done at a place where I don't see a sanitation station for the technicians to wash before they touch me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would you ever do that, right? Like but that's the thing. We don't think like that. And I will say this especially. Women are notorious for getting into situations where we feel slightly uncomfortable, but because we don't want to embarrass you or antagonize you or upset you or are afraid for our person in your presence, we'll go along with it even though we think it's a terrible idea. We'll go along with it and go, I didn't want to upset him. I showed up. So what? If you're showing up and you have money for services and you don't feel comfortable with the services, walk out. Even if you walk out without the money, walk out. Yep. Your health is more important.
Buttocks intact.
Listen, your health is more important.
Exactly.
So ask those questions. If you're going someplace and they say, oh, they're a medical professional, what kind of medical professional? Yeah. Hey, get their name and run it through the Better Business Bureau. Get their name and call the Attorney General's office or go to the Attorney General's office in your state and type their name in and see if they have any complaints.
That's right. Because you would not believe the number of things that you can just simply pay $25 and become a member of some sort of organization that sounds pretty like, the Universal Organization of Cosmetic blankety blank.
Right.
And you can get a plaque and you can put it up and it looks like there's some major training involved, and really somebody might have just gone
and got a certificate off the internet.
A weekend course, or just didn't do anything at all.
Listen, we can still marry people off the internet. I can go do the Universal Life Church right now online, pay my $20 and be able to marry people tomorrow.
Precisely.
Be thoughtful. Like really push the needle on this. And I'm going to share a completely separate story that isn't medically related, but it is about doing your due diligence and your research. When I was a young 20-something, like right fresh out of college, I needed a place to live. Yeah. So I rented an apartment, found the ad in the paper, went to see the guy. He showed me the unit, everything looked legit. He asked for like information about me. I gave him information, signed a contract, had been living in this apartment. It was a basement apartment. It was the classic first apartment out of college. Yeah. I was so happy because I could afford it on my own. I could take care of it on my own. Started immediately having problems with the unit. It was a basement unit. It was bug infested, had consistency problems with heating and cooling. Happened to be in St. Paul in Minnesota, which is well known in certain areas for having bats. So I kept getting bats flying into crawling under the doorway.
On your arm, and you didn't know it.
Oh no, they buzzed my head like twice. Yeah, it wasn't fun. So I kept complaining, and he wouldn't do anything about it. And so I looked up. Something told me to look something up to sort of see what my renter's rights were. Yeah. In the course of looking it up and entering his information, I found out he didn't own the unit he was renting to me. So I was actually paying someone else who didn't own that building. And if at any point the owner of the building wanted to do something with it, I would have been out on my butt without any recourse, because this guy actually had no legal claim to the building. So then I said, as a classic stupid 20-something, well, I'm not paying rent. I'm getting out of here. And we were, we kind of were arguing back and forth. And then I informed him, hey, I looked you up. You don't own this building. Somebody else owns it, and you're supposed to be the caretaker. I wonder if they even know that you're doing this. And he had 5 renters in the building, right? So
he like that?
He didn't. And so I went and told like all the other tenants, like, we should all probably get out of here because this is not a good idea. And ultimately, we wound up doing a little bit more back and forth. He threatened us. We threatened him because it was like, well, you can threaten to like sue me for unpaid rent, but I'm just going to go to the attorney general and tell them that you're not the owner of this building and you're illegally renting it out. It's really simple. And we were trying to find the name of like the person who owned the property so we could get in touch with them directly, which I think was what set his alarm bells off and was just like, you've got 30 days. Just get out. I don't care. And I did. And luckily for me, all I lost was, what I had already paid out. Right. But if I had done a little bit more due diligence, like if I had done like the next places I rented, I asked very specific questions, everything from, can I see your identification? Can you show me proof of ownership? That kind of thing. After that, I was in much safer positions.
Did you have to leave the bats, or could you take them with you?
Oh, I hate bats. There's a reason I hate bats. I've been scammed. Like
cute.
I've been
fuzzy little.
I've had 3 different bats in 3 different houses I've lived in, where they crawled under the doorway and just like buzzed my head.
They can get in really small.
They're
spaces.
Terrifying for that. They're terrifying. That's why I don't like them.
Did you see that thing on the GynoCast Facebook group thing that I posted about the public service announcement of the woman who was like walking around and felt this thing hit her arm and walked home and got undressed, like looked in the mirror and there was a bat hanging on her.
See, that's what I'm talking about. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're not gonna talk about bats.
That had rabies, by the way.
I know, and that's what's terrifying about them. So imagine waking up and they're like buzzing your head.
So they may be cute and buzzing and kind of cutely standing on your head and stuff. But they may be rabies.
Bats are wonderful for over like some. We're not friends. It's fine.
Caressing your head with their little leathery wings.
Don't even talk about it. So bad. I'm still traumatized.
Those little fingers.
20 years ago, and
you're thinking,
still can't stand it.
Cute, but really they're just.
No, I mean, but seriously, like,
rabid.
Do your due diligence.
That's the point we're trying to make.
It's really important. It's important for your safety. It's important for your health. Do your due diligence. And if you can't get answers that you need, if you genuinely can't get the answers that you need,
turn around and go out the door.
Don't go through with it.
Right, exactly.
Right? I mean, you've got time on your side to go do something else. And this is an elective procedure. You're not going to die if you don't get a butt injection. But you might if you do under terrible conditions.
That's right.
So think about it.
And if you died, you'd feel bad about it. I will tell you that.
I will certainly feel bad about it. Yeah. Now, sort of on that note, we're actually going to try to cut this up and sort of expedite getting this out in the airways for one reason.
Why? You're talking too long.
No, the actress Lala Anthony, who is the ex-wife of Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player. Yeah. She actually just did a documentary. And the documentary, I'm going to pull up so I can see what the name of it is. She did it's about butt injections and this sort of culture of butt injections and the awful nature of what is sort of the insidious nature of this particular industry. It's called Killer Curves, Bodies to Die For. And it'll delve into the dark side of women altering their appearance to get the perfect body on the black market. Now, the reason I'm going to try my best to get the show cut up early is because it's airing next Wednesday, which is during our...
we got to do this on Monday then, right?
Yeah, on our recording cycle, it's it would be August 8th. And it's going to come on BET, I believe, which is Black Entertainment Television, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for those of us who live in the Midwest. Yep. But I think it's important enough that if we're talking about this, and there's something out there that can give you hard, concrete information and personal firsthand experiences of women who are telling you that this didn't go well for them and this is why it didn't go well, we should be making sure that we amplify that signal. So we'll do our best to get this out in time for you to sort of listen to this and tune into that.
It's just interesting about the gender issue too, because if there were a procedure where you could do liposuction on a man and inject it into his penile shaft to make it bigger,
they'd do it.
I was going to say most would not, and they actually, I'm going to say that actually they do have a procedure.
I'm about to say, but you think dudes won't do that?
But I've actually, because I was curious, and so I looked at it. They look like lumpy penises.
Oh, so
I don't
yeah,
think the plural
you're not
of
gonna.
penis
Yeah,
is
you're not
penile.
gonna.
Maybe
You're not
it
gonna
is.
want to do it if it doesn't. If
But
it's
it
not
looks
gonna
like a
be
lumpy
nice.
penis.
Yeah, if it's not
you
gonna look
know?
nicer afterwards,
Yeah.
what's the point?
And
Yeah,
so,
we wouldn't get boob jobs if our boobs looked like like we're carrying a sack of baseballs afterwards. On that note, with our ridiculous nature,
Okay,
um,
join the GynoCast Facebook group,
please do. Please
We
do.
have interesting conversations that are of depth
Most of the time.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Good conversations that are respectful, where people can disagree and agree and talk about things that matter. If you don't do that, you will be kicked out of the group.
Yeah. Now, listen, this is really important. There's a reason it's a closed group. It is a closed group because we do have difficult conversations. We do have sometimes hard to access conversations, things that people are being vulnerable in the space about. And we want to be able to provide a really respectful, really supportive atmosphere for that. It's really easy to join. Just type in the GynoCast in the search bar on Facebook, and it'll ask to be approved. Here's why I tell you it's so important. We get requests just about every week, which is lovely, and we're so grateful. But it doesn't take a lot of due diligence to see somebody making a request and then sort of clicking into their profile and seeing that
2 clicks.
Seeing that something's odd, like, so I just recently we've had a slew of people joining that on the surface look like, oh yeah, these look like legitimate people. Then you click into them and they're super weird. Like, they have nothing but weird profile pictures, no actual interaction on the site over the course of a certain amount of time, no friends, things like that. Where
their friends are all guys. That always, and if you're going to,
I haven't seen any of those lately. I've seen a lot where it's just like 0 friends.
Yeah, that's weird.
And I always think that's odd. So we have, we've got a pretty good system in place, having done this for a few years, of recognizing when people don't seem like they're here for the right reasons, or there's some sort of weird bot or somebody trying to manipulate the system. We're really diligent about this because we want the space to remain a safe, supportive, and open space.
That's right.
The only way to do that is to ask you to come join us and not just sort of have it be a free-for-all, because very quickly it's going to turn into like what other social media platforms look like, and nobody wants to be arguing with trolls back and forth about nonsense when they're just out for a fight. That's right. So that's really and truly why we ask you to sort of follow this procedure, and it's not a very big procedure. We just want to make sure it's a safe space for you.
Yep.
So we like the safe space.
Yeah.
And then you should go check out the website as well, matriarchdm.com. We have a GynoCast page. We have previous episodes. You can even email the show at hello@matriarchdm.com. And as always, we do this because of your support.
Is hello with 2 L's or 1?
2. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. You can spell it with 1?
Well, you can do anything you want.
I mean, I'm not one of those fun internet people that like change the spelling or put a number in there. I don't need to be that different.
I don't let spelling get in the way of anything.
That's okay. That's what spell check is for.
So and just speaking of spell, and so I had a conversation with a grown man yesterday.
Okay.
And I was at a party, and we were on a boat.
Okay.
And this is not like
Must
a
be
going
nice.
boat party. It was a celebratory party for somebody, and we were on a boat, right? And the boat is coming to the dock, right?
Okay.
And I was just kind of screwing around. My daughter was there. This guy was there, and I was saying, "Is it time to deboard?" And the man looks at me and goes, "Deboard is not a word. It's disembark." And I looked at him and I thought, You're probably a 55-year-old guy, almost 55 years old, and I don't know if I would correct someone's verbiage. Maybe that's not even right. Correct someone's grammar, in public, and it didn't bother me that much, but I was pretty sure it was a word, which bugged me. And so I think I may have.
That's one of those.
I think I may have said, I'm not sure, but I think it may be a word. So I get home, I Google it, Oxford English Dictionary. Kaboom, deboard.
So did you email him and go, so you know?
No, I didn't, because I don't know his email.
No,
it would be.
No, you just came and recorded
now
it
I'm
here,
just doing
so
it on
it
a
goes.
podcast. That's right, yeah. So for you, the
That's
gentleman
pretty
who
good.
told me disembark is a deboard is not a word. You are wrong, and you have no repercussion. There's no way you can get back at me because I'm on the radio. I'm on this podcast, not you.
See.
But for
now
those
y'all
of
see
you,
why I just want to stay behind the scenes and push buttons.
well,
This is
so the
why.
point is that I think it's so snobby to correct
Well,
people's.
of course it was. I
It's
mean,
like-
my first thought when you said that was, and he should probably take a moment to remove said stick from said butt. But hey,
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And you know what Winston Churchill would have said?
What?
You know what he would have said?
No.
He would have said this, and we're going to close this out because we've been talking about 2 hours, about nothing.
Well, yeah.
He would say, "That is up with which I will not put." Have you heard that before?
Yes,
It's just the best thing.
And on that note, thanks for listening.
Goodbye. We're going to have our mojitos now.